I'm not ashamed to own my Lord, nor to defend his cause. Maintain the honors of his word, the glory of his cross.
Hello, I'm James Brown, and on behalf of the Eastern Church of Christ located in Toronto, Canada, I'd like to welcome you to today's edition of Walking Through the Bible, a podcast where we seek to study the Bible and the Bible alone. Please stick around afterwards for information on how you can contact us. But for now, please go to the book of Matthew, and we'll turn you over to Jeremy Dieselkamp for our study of the day.
Thank you, James, and welcome to all of our viewers. This is the 19th lesson in our study of Matthew. On Saturday, we studied Matthew chapter 5, verses 11 and 12, discussing the 9th Beatitude. If you missed that episode, you can find it and all of our other podcasts on multiple platforms by going to one of the different sites listed on the bottom of the screen. Today, we're going to begin with Matthew chapter 5, verse 13, and read through verse 16. The text that you'll see on the screen is from the New King James Version, but you're welcome to follow along with any version that you have. So let's now read Matthew chapter 5, beginning at verse 13. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is then good for nothing but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it shall give its light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. This might seem like a break in his thought, but let's remember Jesus has just finished describing the character of those who would be disciples of Jesus, ones who would later be known as Christians. So having given them those character traits, he now goes on to make an application. He calls his disciples the salt of the earth. Many of us know what salt is today and what its purpose is. Common table salt is sodium chloride and is used not only to make our food taste better, but is also used to preserve food from going bad. What we find in our salt shakers is a very pure form of that compound, and when it dissolves or disappears, nothing is left behind. However, salt in Eastern countries of that time also contained other minerals, and so what Jesus meant when he said that salt loses its flavor was that when all the salty properties of what was known as salt were gone, that what was left over was useless for anything concerning food, whether taste or preservation. Now we know that Jesus was not making a commentary on food, but was using what they knew to make a spiritual application. Concerning being the salt of the earth, Jesus' disciples would, through their lives, shed the truth of the gospel to the world that desperately needed it, thus contributing to the preservation of people's souls. In addition to that, the hardships that they would face in their life would be easier to bear or taste better for having the salt of the truth mixed with it. However, if the salt loses its flavor, the lives of the disciples would be useless. They would not be teaching the lost, and people won't be saved, and they will crumble under the weight of persecution and leave the faith themselves. If this occurs, they will one day be trodden under the foot by the judge himself, namely Jesus Christ. It is very easy to get comfortable being a Christian or to put our lives on autopilot. We must avoid this temptation by being active as disciples, studying in order to grow in the Word, as well as finding new areas to contribute in the spreading of the good news of Jesus Christ. If we do this, we won't have time to become complacent, and we'll find souls will be saved as well. Jesus then goes on to say that his disciples would not only be the salt of the earth, but they would also be the light of the world. Is Jesus simply teaching the same thing using two different metaphors? In some ways, yes, and in other ways, no. Salt works internally and only does its work on things that it physically comes in contact with. However, light works externally, illuminating on a much wider scale. The example of Jesus' disciples to the whole world, therefore, would not only influence the people they meet every day, but would also influence on a much wider scale. Light is not only opposed to darkness, it gets rid of darkness. So in this case, the light of the gospel would get rid of the darkness of the world covered by sin, allowing that light to live in people's lives. This type of light is like a city that is set on a hill. When a city is built on a large hill or mountain, it can be seen kilometers away and cannot be hid from anybody. So too with the light of the gospel. It is so bright that it cannot hide from anybody. Jesus then warns his disciples not to take their light and hide it under a bushel or a basket. Today we don't usually use candles to light our rooms as they did, but we can understand that if we want to really light up a room, we put our lights high on the ceiling rather than close to the ground. The closer the light is to the ground, the dimmer the room. Putting a lampshade on our lamp also has the effect of dimming our room. With the light of the gospel, we aren't to hide it from others, but boldly go out and teach it through our example and through our words. With that, our time is up for today. Please join us, the Lord willing, tomorrow when we will continue our study of Matthew, beginning with Matthew chapter 5, verse 17.
Thank you, Jeremy. And to our viewers, we also thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Should you have a question or comment, please leave it below or email it to answerintheword@gmail.com. We'll try to respond to you as quickly as we can. We hope you'll join us, Lord's willing, tomorrow when we will be continuing on our study in the book of Matthew. Goodbye for now and have a great day.
I'm not ashamed to own my Lord, nor to defend his cause. Maintain the honors of his word.